out that I am pregnant. So, leading the events leading up to that day, me and Rebel decided to go to this party. At that time, I had no idea I was pregnant at that time. So we went to the party. We had a great time. I was drinking. He was drinking. So, and then afterwards we went our separate ways, went to our dorms, and everything was fine. So, I noticed that when I got back to my room and, I had been feeling sick for a few days, but I never really thought that my cycle was off in any way. But then again, I really wasn't tracking it because I had so much going on. And with my health, if I've been under a lot of stress and things like that, it tends to be delayed. So I didn't think anything of it. But then time kept going by and I was not coming on. And he had started to get sick. And at first we thought it was a stomach virus. And I remember 2 days after that, I get a phone call that night, and is his friend calling saying, "Hey, Taylor, Rebel is really sick. Like, he's throwing up nonstop. He's eating a lot, all these different things." And I'm like, I don't know. Like, he was like, "I wonder if he have a stomach bug or something like that." And I'm saying, I don't know. Maybe we should take him to the doctor and find out. And then so I called one of my friends and I'm like, "Hey, Rebel is sick. This is that and the third." And she was like, "You sure you're not pregnant?" And I'm like, I shouldn't be. I shouldn't be pregnant. And then also the doctor kind of hinted at when I got diagnosed, it'd be difficult for me to get pregnant. So I didn't think that was even a possibility at that time. And I, of course, wasn't on birth control. And so we decided to go to the doctor just to be sure. So we ended up going to this free clinic. We drove back home and went to a free clinic. And I took the test and the lady sits us both down and she was like, "Well, I got great news. You're pregnant." And neither one of us was really smiling. And she was like, "Well, this is the time to be excited. And this is that and third." And we was like, "Well, thank you. We just wanted to see if that was the case." And also I noticed the weekend before the party, I went to my grandma's house and I got those cheap pregnancy tests. They were like 80 some cents at the dollar store. And I was like, taking pregnancy tests on those. And it came back positive. Like all the cheap ones came back positive. I'm like, it could be the test. And I was noticing I was starting to get like morning sickness and things like that. So I'm like, okay, something's not right. And so when we found out that I was pregnant, we went to his mom's house. And we told his mom, "Yeah, Taylor's pregnant. We're just trying to figure out what we're going to do. We're going to actually go see the doctor because of course, with me having lupus, I would be considered a high risk pregnancy." And she's going to schedule an appointment with her specialist and see what we need to do. Of course, his mom was very disappointed because we were still in school. And she was just like, "You all throw your future away. You had all the time in the world to have kids and you chose now to have children," and things like that. But we wasn't really studying it. So we go back to school. And I schedule my appointment to go see the specialist, the high risk doctor. And we drive back out there to go see the doctor. They do an ultrasound, they do blood work. And I'll never forget this. So they kind of know my medical history. And they sit us in this room, and I'll never forget, it was a sunny day. It was a small room. It had a round table and 3 chairs. We sat on the side where the window was, and she sat on the opposite side. And that's after all the results came back and things like that. And she said, "I just want to be honest with you." And she said, "What are your plans?" I said, "Well, I plan on having a child, and then we're going to, go from there. I'm still going to we're going to still continue with schooling and do all those things. And we're just going to figure it out as we go and talk to our parents." And she stops and she says, "Well, I do have some bad news for you." She said, "Because of the state of your health and your condition, you will not be able to carry it." She pretty much said that there were possible outcomes, and these were the options. Either I would die carrying, because my lupus also was associated with my kidneys, and the baby sits on the bladder, so that was a risk there. The other thing was we both could die during childbirth. And the other thing was that I could give birth and the baby make it and I die. So all three of the outcomes was pretty much me dying, because my body would be under so much stress, and because my body I was in remission when I went to school, but because I had a flare, it sent me out of remission, and I had not been in remission for a long time. So my body was kind of like spiraling, and that's what she was letting me know. And we sat there and she was like, I'm just going to give you all a moment. But she said, I strongly suggest that you do not go through with the pregnancy. She said, it's your decision, but your chances are not good. So we sit there for a little bit, and we end up leaving. And once we leave, we get in the car and I'm silent the drive back. And we go back and we talk to his parents again, and his mom was like, I hope you're not really considering putting your life at risk to have a child. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do what I have to do. At the end of the day, if that means me bringing a child into the world at the risk of my own life, I'll do what I have to do. So she didn't really like that answer, but she kind of didn't say much. And at this point, I think I was a little further along. I think I was a few weeks or so. And I kind of got comfortable with the fact that I was pregnant, and that would have, in my head, been my only time to actually have a child. So I was going to take the risk because I wanted children, right? Unfortunately, it would have been in a bad situation because him and I were not the healthiest relationship-wise. But if that meant me having a child and even getting myself together to leave, that's what I was going to do. And so we go back to school, and I receive a phone call, and it's his mom and his aunt. And we're all on three-way. And she's talking to me about, hey, and the whole entire conversation, she's just talking about her son. Oh, you will leave my son to raise a child by himself. And oh, you just selfish. And why would you put my son in a situation like this? And why would you want him to throw his life away? What he look like raising a child on his own, and something happens to you? He can't live without you. I mean, it was nothing of the sort of being like supportive and like, yeah, Taylor, we're going to be with you every step of the way. And it was all in the interest of her son and her son only. So I listened to this conversation, and actually his aunt intervenes and was just like, hey, don't put that type of pressure on her. Don't put this out. We're not going to do that. That's not why we're having this conversation with her. His aunt was more so like, we're going to offer her support. Like, whatever her decision is, it's her decision. It's her body. She can decide to do what she wants with her body. And so she kind of like stopped the conversation, and then we kind of wrapped it up and got off the phone. And that weekend, she was like, okay, I want y'all to come down this weekend so we can talk. So we go down that weekend and stayed at the house, and we're still having this discussion about the baby situation, what we're going to do. And his aunt actually comes over, and me and her have like a one-on-one conversation. And she was just like, I just want you to do what you feel like is best for you. But you need to make sure that you're not putting yourself, your health, and your body at risk, whatever you decide to do. If you're going to carry the baby, it needs to be the healthy way. Figure out what doctors like. She was literally having a very rational conversation with me. and not really like yelling at me and like throwing all her opinions about how she feels about different things, because she's a mom, you know? And so she's like, I just want you to do what you feel is best for you in this situation. Don't think about what nobody else is feeling, how nobody else feels, because it's your body you're carrying. Nobody's in your situation because they don't have the health issues you have. You have a lot to think about. So really think about all of your options and choose the best option for you in your future. And she said, and even if this doesn't work out, it doesn't mean you're not going to have children. It just may not be the right time. So just kind of factor in all those things. And I'm like, okay, well, she maybe has a point there. And so, you know, we're sitting and we're talking, and it's really, really close to Mother's Day at this time. And I'm like, okay, so I really have a lot to think about. So after that, we leave and we go back to school, and I talk to a lot of friends and things like that. And after talking to a lot of my friends and really thinking about it, and actually talking to the doctor, I really had to make a really, really tough decision. And I don't think people really understand when it comes to a child and you've always dreamed about being a mom and having kids, even especially like the doctor is telling you having children is difficult and the strain it puts on your body because of your health and all these different things. And I'm like, I'm going to carry this child. Like, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to carry this child, even if that means me dying. I'm willing to take that risk. If that means I'm going to die to bring life into the world, hey, that's what it's going to be. And I was pretty much set on that. And me and him, we had another tough conversation closer to the time, and his grandmother spoke to me, and because she had a feeling I was pregnant, she said she had a dream about fish, so she knew I was pregnant before we even told her. And I remember going to her house, and she was like, "Girl, I know you pregnant." And I'm like, she was like, "I knew. I already knew." So I'm like, okay, you said you already know. But her and I had a conversation about what would be the best route as far as the baby, and we made the decision. And it was one of the hardest decisions to make. And nobody understands what it's like when your health is limiting you from having the one thing you've always wanted. And your body is telling you, no, you can't do this. It's very difficult. But the struggle was only ahead of me.